पे कर देना होगा ना, व्यू नहीं तो बाद में नहीं आएगा ना।
Wonderful. Welcome back to the day two and for the day two of Thermal Power Operations and Maintenance Virtual Conference. Glad to welcome all the delegates. I understand that there were some technical issues, the reason why you were not able to join us for the first session, but we are very, very glad that you are here with us for the second session where we are starting with the technical presentations. And for this session, we have amazing lineup of speakers who are joining us from different organizations. I will name a few that we have Mr. N.K. Singh, who's joining us from GIPCL, Mr. M.V. Venugopal Rao, who's joining us from Singareni Collieries, Mr. Fashir Dubey, who's joining us from NTPC, and Ms. Shivali Khalsi, who's joining us from NTPC. This session, we are going to experience some amazing best practices, some amazing thought process methodology, when we talk about how we can increase the efficiency, how we can maintain the process in a better way using the new technologies or using the multiple methodologies for thermal power plant. With that note, I would like to welcome Mr. N.K. Singh to join us on stage and to deliver your presentation. Good morning, Mr. Singh. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine.
Wonderful. So what I would request you is please share your screen so that we can start with the presentation.
Okay, thank you. I think is it visible?
No, presentation we cannot see yet. We can see you properly, crystal clear.
Presentation you are not able to see?
No.
Okay, just a minute.
Yes, please minimize this and yeah, wonderful. It's so good to see the team effort. The moment we saw that there's some issue with screen sharing, your entire team was with us.
I hope now it is
We
clear.
can see that. Yes, yes, absolutely. Please go ahead.
Okay. Very good morning to each and everyone who are present on virtual this. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Mission Energy Foundation for giving us opportunity to present this regarding developing operation management system and efficiency monitoring and analysis. This is always wonderful and pleasure to have interaction with the professionals on this platform. I would like to start with a bird eye view of Surat Lignite Power Plant that is part of Gujarat Industries Power Company Limited, that is GIPCL. You can see the total power plant view and greenery associated in and around the plant. The plant is based on CFBC technology, having 4 units, each of 125 megawatt, and total capacity is 500 megawatt. We have highlighted something related with the performance and mainly on efficiency and energy parameter here. The plant has achieved plant load factor in the range of 75 to 85% based on the grid demand and other factors. And then the availability is in the range of 83 to 90%. And that is considered to be one of the best availability for a CFBC technology power plant. Particularly the what we have. I will just tell about this in the next slides. We are using clean and green environment friendly circulating fluidized bed combustion technology boilers, basically for firing fuel with a low grade, that is lignite, having moisture content of 43 to 52% and the sulfur content in the range of 0.6 to 1.2, though it is designed for 2% moisture sulfur content. And then we have highlighted this, we have more than 164 energy saving measures implemented. since 2009, and this has accumulated in saving of around 175 million tons, 175 million units, and around 4.6 lakhs metric ton of lignite. Apart from using this clean and green environmental technology, I would like to tell you these units are commissioned around in 20 years back. First units were phase 2 into 125 commissioned in year 2000, and it has run almost 1,50,000 running hours. And the second phase, that is 2 into 125, what we call unit 3 and 4, it was commissioned in year 2010, and that has also run around 60,000 running hours. The best part, what I would like to highlight here is still we are fully complying with the new environmental norms. That we'll discuss later on. The next part is we are a zero effluent plant, zero discharge, and ash utilization, we are 100% ash utilizing since 2003. Generating from thermal, renewable, solar, wind, coal, gas, and we have our own captive mines. So we'll go to the next slide, please. Our presentation will be sequenced like GIPCL will go the company profile. Then on efficiency part, we'll first cover the losses, because which are the main constraint for the total efficiency of any power stations. Then we'll refer SLPP operation management on general aspect, giving a special focus on SLPP, so that you know what are the practices we are adopting. And first we'll go for the plant operations guidelines as per OEM, and then the best O&M practices we have from the industries, efficiency improvement practices, and energy conservation practices. GIPCL is an IMS company, integrated management system, with ISO 9001, 14,001, 18,001, and 50,001 company, established in 1985. We have Baroda plants where we have the gas-based station, 2 numbers, 145 and 165 megawatts. We are just talking about the Surat Lignite Power Plant, 4 into 125, that you can see. Then we have solar here also in the Surat Lignite Power Plant. We can see the below 5 megawatt on the mining dump top. Then 1 megawatt directly connected with the grid distribution company. Then the renewable energy in Charanka Solar Park, we are the having the largest capacity addition, 80 megawatt and 75 megawatt. Altogether, it is 155 megawatt. We are largest present in Gujarat Solar Power Park at Charanka. And then in the Saurashtra and North Gujarat region and Kutch region, we have the wind plants, and that aggregate the capacity of 112.4 megawatts. And you can see the Surat Lignite Power Plant and these captive mines, which is nearby to our plant. 2 mines are just 3 to 5 kilometers, and 1 major mines, that is Walia Mines, is around 18 kilometers from the plant. This is just an overview of our Surat Lignite Power Plant. You can see the greenery, the plant, main plant, switchyard, circulating water systems, lignite systems, cooling towers, and lime system also that will come. This is just to have an overview of the plant. Now come to our main focus point regarding efficiency. When we talk about efficiency, means output. In output, then whatever input we are giving, that output is minus losses. And if we manage the losses, then the efficiency will improve. And thermal power plant, as all August gathering or the distinguished guests and the people present here know, the major losses are in the condenser. And in our case, it is around 44.65%. Because it is based on the actual. Then the output is 1.38. And loss due to total moisture. Moisture is a major, because we have fuel lignite where the moisture is around 43 to 52%. So this causes major impact and effect on boiler efficiency. Then dry flue gas losses is around 6.06%. Loss due to hydrogen in lignite is 4.68%. Other losses, boiler side is 0.85, which constitute the sensitive heat of ash, moisture present in air, then the radiation loss, unburned carbon loss, and unaccounted loss is 1.56. So this heat rate is varying almost 2600 to 2700 for this CFBC power plant what we are operating 4 into 125 megawatt. The major factor is the moisture, which is causing major loss to the efficiency. So we'll come to the slides and then we'll explain. But before going to the moisture side, as a typical power plant operations, we know these are the important parameters which affect directly the plant performance, efficiency, and how it affects in the commercial factors. Let us first start, because we have gone for the minimum unit. As we all know, this is 20 years or 10 years old plant, so main steam temperature design is 540 degrees centigrade. But even a drop of 1 degree gives a heat rate drop of 0.62. So almost 50%. And then if you consider in monetary terms, it is around 1088 rupees per day. Similarly, we have gone for HRH. This also gives us in first stage pressure. This also gives 1 kg. It gives around 3800. I'm talking about the third one. Condenser vacuum 97. If you go by 1 millibar drop, it gives heat rate drop, heat rate increase below with 0.923, and the increase in the cost is 1395. So these are the superheater spray, reheater spray, CW inlet temperature. It is 31 degree. If it is increasing by 1 degree, the heat rate is by 4.89. These are all based on the analysis and the evaluation. And the most important one, I would like to highlight the last one, the boiler efficiency, 79.57, because this is lower considering these moisture factors, because of moisture more than 45 to 52%. So there the heat rate loss is 35 kilocalorie per 1%, and the amount is 47,398 rupees per day per unit. If you evaluate this as a total on a year basis, considering 310 days operation, say about 85% availability factor, this loss will be around in the range of 5 to 6 crores. So this 1% efficiency drop is causing 5 to 6 crores. So this we have calculated based on our experience at 78% boiler efficiency and lignite GCB of 2,700 for 1 unit, 3 million unit generation in 1 day. We'll move to the next one. So what are the factors really affecting the efficiency? And that is more important. Design features say our plant is a subcritical plant with 132 kg and 540. Thereafter, we have gone in subcritical also in 170 bar, and then the 540, I went on 565 reheater temperature. In our case, reheater temperature is also 540. Same if you go for supercritical, then there will be different, then ultra supercritical, then there will be different, and then the development, which is having with 47% efficiency. So that is one factor. But since we are operating a plant with a certain design features, we'd like to talk about that plant. So now in that plant, if you talk, then there comes the technology. Most of the speakers and people are aware about the fluorized fuel-based technology. That is the PF boilers. But here we are operating circulating fluidized bed boiler. This has some major advantage with the low-grade fuel, particularly what we are burning, lignite with sulfur and this. And there are some disadvantages also, which we will discuss in the next one. Then in CFBC technology also, there are different options. Alstom give different option, Foster Wheeler have given different. Now the Thermax also there, IGT is there. But our design is based on Lurgi process, engineering done by Lenses and Babcock, and supplied by BHEL. And this boiler is having a fluidized bed heat exchanger, which is not common to the other CFBC boiler. So we'll just, so this also affect the efficiency parameter. Then the O&M practices. The O&M practices adopted by any utility or power stations has major role in the overall efficiency parameter of a unit or a power station. So that we'll discuss and deliberate later on. And apart from that, as we all know, boiler performance is very much dependent on the fuel quality. And in our case, fuel quality is low grade, lignite, having GCP of 2500 to maximum 3000, but more generally we get around 2800. And moisture content is, that is the main limiting factor, that is around 43 to 52%. Now it is mostly in the 50% range, 50 plus. And then if everything is available, how we are making your plant available? If plant is available more than 85%, it will give a better efficiency. If plant availability is not there, it will have direct implications and impact on efficiency of the plant. And then nowadays partial loading, there are two types, partial loading due to grid and partial loading due to system also. Because of moisture and low grade fuel, we have system partial loading also issue. Grid side being on the highest in merit order, we don't have major option, but because of more renewable energy addition, there is some issue because of the wind, there is frequent this backing down or reduction of load causing this efficiency factor. Then the aging of the machine, this is all as per SME code also, PTC 4.1, PTC 6 for boiler and turbine, there are aging factor effect, and that is there common for this also. Then new environmental norms also affect the efficiency parts, though we comply with the new environmental norms, but definitely it has impact on this. And then the renewable energy generation addition in the grid, this is also affecting the efficiency of the thermal power stations. Now operation management side, plant operations as per OEM guidelines in parameter and based O&M practices. CFBC technology issues and challenges and mitigation measures taken by us for improving the performance and reducing the outages. Plant monitoring and management practices, what we are adopting. Resources for monitoring, analysis and evaluation, and then we'll come down to the best maintenance practices. Just have a glimpse of our unit. This is CFBC. Phase 1 capacity is 390 ton per hour, phase 2 405 ton per hour. Both are having 125 megawatt unit, but in the phase 2 we have kept some margin, and then we have the escape provision. Then the pressure is 132 kg, temperature 540. Lignite GCB, as already I have discussed and informed, it is 2550 to this. Moisture content is 45 to 50%. Apart from lignite, we are using lime also as additive, mainly to capture the sulfur present in this. That is the beauty of this CFBC technology. And more than 90%, rather than 94% sulfur we capture at source. So this is very helpful for complying the new environmental norm. And other factor, this temperature range is around 850 to 900 in the combustor. Basically, it is in the range of 850. So the heat transfer area is very large. Then we are using HFO for only unit startup or secondary fuel, sometimes during the part load operation, but it is rarely being used for part load. Though these units are commissioned around first in phase in 2000 and second phase in 2010, we are fully complying with new environmental norms applicable, with minor modification and retrofitting job done only in ESP. And it is otherwise on SOx part and NOx parts, we are fully complying, rather than instead of the 600 for SOx, we are complying in the range of 50 to 150 mg per nm cube. NOx also in the range of 600, we are much below, it is only in 40, or in SPM also 50 to 110 and 30 to 60 in phase 2, where its limiting value is 50. So this is, and you can see in the photographs, This is the main combustor area. This is the cyclone, which is completely refractory line. These are the fluidized bed heat exchanger. Why I'm saying this terminology will be used. And then this is the main back pass where all superheater, reheater, steam circuit will be there. Then economizer will be there, and then air filter, and then it goes to ESP and to the chimney. Now, CFBC technology has a lot of advantage and some major disadvantages also. So now it is for low grade fuel, environmental, we capture sulfur, low NOx generation is already because of temperature. We are maintaining around the 850, and the secondary stage combustion, high combustion efficiency, it is around 98%. Fuel flexibility means ki we are using lignite, but we have blended with the imported coal also. Even you can use bagasse also. So imported coal 10 to 15%. So that variation is there. Of course, you cannot go more than the directly with the imported coal, or because of this limitation of temperature and other operational parameters. Fuel preparation, there is no milling plant and fluidizers, no requirement of fluidizers, high sustainable under cyclical loading because there is a heat absorbed in the mass in the combustor. So this helps in the operation. Quick restart and hot box condition, flue gas desulfurization, and disadvantage is each boiler is having around 15 metric ton refractory. So this has a major issues during startup, shutdown of unit, and during maintenance activities for taking any maintenance work. And this has resulted high unit outage duration. Whenever there will be a tube leakage or force outage, this causes a huge higher unit outage. Then because of this, in this boiler, there are a lot of auxiliaries like for fluidization, lot of blowers are there, lime milling plants are there. It causes higher auxiliary consumptions, and consumption is in the range of 11 to 12%. And maintenance intensive boiler, because of lot of heating surface area, there is a issue of high access and approach. And since the fluidized material, bed material is ash, so when it slides down or moves in the boiler, so it causes heavy erosion in the combustor and other area. The major issues what we have discussed just now is the auxiliary power consumption, and that is mainly because of the number of blowers for creating fluidization in the different fluidized bed heat exchangers, and the primary air fan operating at 225 around millibars for fluidization in the combustor. This causes major for the auxiliary consumption. Extra auxiliary power is because of the already I told ki there is a lime handling and milling conveying to the boilers meeting environmental norm. But if we consider now new environmental norm with a PA boiler also, and then they go for FGD plant, so this may be comparable. So this is now an advantage because we don't have to do anything for the SOx or NOx. It is already, we are very much complying this. So this is the advantage now. Auxiliary required to be, that is a major issue. In PF boiler and other boilers, during shutdowns, we need to run minimum auxiliaries even during startup also. But in CFBC boiler, considering the process and operation requirement, we need to run almost all the auxiliaries during cooling down or startups, which increases the auxiliary consumptions. Then higher and longer duration outages. Hot bed material, it is at 850 temperatures. Then you have to causing erosion in the walls, and then it has mainly resulting in the boiler tube leakages, and that cause the force outage. Due to huge amount of refractory, cooling down and startup period is higher, and time required for refractory maintenance is also longer. And then as already explained, since there is a lot of areas in the combustor and because of lower temperature, so you cannot approach for maintenance. That is one major constraint. So this is also resulting into the higher outage and durations, which is directly affecting the plant ability. Now, as already I discussed, there is a moisture. So our focus is to how to reduce the moisture effect on the efficiency part and the overall performance. If we go by the data, boiler efficiency 6% is decreasing, mainly because of this moisture increase in the lignite from 43% earlier to 52%. This is causing, you see, earlier I explained just by 1% drop, we are losing around 5 to 6%. So if you go for 6%, it is in the range of 25 to 30 crores. So that will be the impact. That is the impact of this increase in moisture. In auxiliary power consumption, the other major factor, apart from technological issues like the large number of rotating drives and milling plant, this increase in moisture itself is increasing around 18% increase. That is in the boiler component. And then because of this moisture increase, the dew point of the flue gas is also increasing from 140 to 150, which is detrimental now for causing the corrosion and other factors. And this is resulting in accelerated corrosion in FG duct, APS tube, ESP internal, hoppers, and creating condensation of sulfuric acid and hydraulic acid. And higher air ingress due to corrosion result in higher boiler draft power. Because of air ingress through the casings and the flue gas ducts, leading the I-defined loading and resulting into the lower load reduction and partial loading. Here, this is the graph we had from the OEM. This we have taken this matter with OEM, and then we had discussed in detail how is the impact. If you see in the graph, it is very clear. It is on change in boiler efficiency. If you see 43%, it is around almost 2%. If you consider 52%, you can see the minus 8%. So reduction is around 6%. So 6%, this boiler efficiency is getting dropped from this 43% to a increase in moisture content from 43% to 52%. This size is the calorific value, high heating value. This Y component is your boiler efficiency. So you can see the impact of this moisture content in 9% increase in moisture content causing 6% in decrease in boiler efficiency. Thereby, even 1.5% increase in moisture content is causing 1% boiler efficiency drop and around 5 crore loss every year for the plant if we are considering the 4 into 125 and 500 megawatt units. So this we have taken the matter with OEM and then we have taken corrective action. See, there is constraint also, we cannot change the fuel and fuel quality. We have to burn this fuel, but only how to optimize the losses because of the moisture, that is what we are doing as a part of best operational practices and fuel quality. Then if you see the another graph, what we have discussed just, this is regarding change in auxiliary power percentage, lignite moisture percentage and height value. If you see again from 52%, which is 2%, to 43%, which is minus almost 2%, and this is minus around 16%. So it is almost 18%. So this 18% drop is because of this moisture content. So the major two issues of the performance regarding efficiency and the auxiliary consumption is directly attributable to the fuel moisture content, which is a major area of concern for us, and we are taking all necessary measures and remedial measures to maintain the plant performance and improve the performance. The effect of this moisture content is directly on the lignite ID fan current rating and change in the percentage amperage. You can see the current rating is increasing from 66 ampere to 78 amperes. There is a huge increase. If you see in the percentage itself, if you consider 0% as 43%, there is 18%, what we have discussed just now. So this is the impact of this moisture. So this is our focus area, considering the losses. And accordingly, we are taking all necessary preventive and remedial measures. This is another graph which is also showing, because lignite is having low heat value, and it is sometimes it goes below 2500 also because of the moisture. Moisture in the monsoon, it goes around 53-54% also. Because the South Gujarat, you might be knowing, it is having heavy rain area. Even rain goes more than 2000 mm also in the monsoon. So that creates another problem for us. And being in the top in the merit order, we are always in the demand in the grid. So we have to be available and run the machine. So in this graph, which is a GCV versus the I-defined kilowatt. So you see, if you go by below 2650 GCV, this becomes a choking point. And then you cannot go for the load. And then only option left out is reduce and increase the partial loading. So there we have to reduce the partial load. Then only I-defined can take. Otherwise, from this red line, you will not be able to generate more than this, because this fuel quality has gone down, and that is natural also. So this, now after this moisture, the other factor which is affecting efficiency is frequent and short. Though we are not getting major backing down, but because of the wind, it is frequent and short backing downs we are getting from a load dispatch centers, and which has a direct impact because of part load heat rate. As we all know, if you operate at 60%, how it will behave on the heat rate, efficiency goes down. Since it is in this boiler, we have to run all the auxiliary, even you are running at the 60-70% machine load. So this is causing the auxiliary consumptions. And then though machine availability is there, but the operation partial loading is increasing. And apart from this, this is also affecting the life of machine. And this is common for all the machines which are designed for the base load operation. So is the case with us also. Now, I would like to take, because fuel is one part, apart from other what we have done on the boiler side, which is major for the force outage and causing almost 95% outage and force outages because of boiler. So we have taken, if you do the normal cooling, it takes 7 days. If you do immediate draining of hot bed material, it takes 1 day, 24 hours. If it is in the other refractory zone area, it takes 2 to 3 days. So we have saved around 4 days. Fast cooling down of refractory by continuous running of ID and PFN and blowers means you are running the auxiliaries, you are increasing the auxiliary consumptions, but at the same time we are improving the machine availability. So overall, we have seen the options, and it is always better to go for the fast cooling. Then only we can achieve the availability in the 85% range. Otherwise, it will not be better. And for the machine to recover the complete full cost, we need to achieve 75% commercial availability in the phase 1 and 80% commercial availability, means machine availability should be almost 85 plus 87%. Then only you can achieve 80% commercial availability. So these are the measures we have taken to get our commercial advantage. As there are a lot of erosions, we have gone for the way this metal spray coatings in the corners and the high erosion area. In the roof tube, we have gone for the arc spray. Then in the corner on major area where we have provided refractory line also, we are going for some providing additional refractory lines also where we are finding more erosion and causing frequent boiler tube leakage and force outage. Then in this, since the bed materials or the heat transfer materials are sliding on the combustor valves, so we have to have a flush finishing on the joints, and this also take a lot of times and it needs due care. Then only you can avoid the outage of the boilers. And then the complete replacement of the water valve tubes and other vulnerable area where thickness has gone below 30-40% of the original thickness to avoid the force outage during running of the machines and the boiler. For partial loading, since earlier already I have told this fuel is having sulfur and chloride, so there is a heavy corrosion in the air created tube, especially on the cold inside, and that's why we need to reduce, change these tubes. Earlier we used to change in 2 years by doing a lot of modifications and process. Now we are replacing after 3 and 4 years based on the blanking. If it goes more 10 to 12%, so we go for replacement. ESP, as already told, because of the sulfur and chlorine present in the lignite and moisture content, lot of corrosions are there, heavy corrosions. So we do the repairing and replacement, flue gas duct side also. Regarding the moistures, we have adopted the first whatever mining has been done, we keep in the open environment for 10 to 15 days and then we rehandle it. So that first in, first out methodology. So that at least surface moisture will be out and we get around not much, maybe 1 to 2% only, but it gives a lot of advantage in handling, in giving to the feeding to the boiler, and then in the performance of boiler. To have further enhance this, we have the storage, covered storage shed of lignite shed of 1 lakh metric tons. So that we rehandle from the storage shed, we get the advantage. And during monsoon, we cover this. I will just show 2 photographs. You can have a look on this. See, these are the sheds, lignite shed, and this is almost 70,000. This is 30,000 lignite shed. And there we have a stacker reclaimer arrangement to reclaim the lignite and handle the lignite. Similarly, during monsoon, we cover almost, because the requirement will be around 12 lakh tons for the monsoon. So we cover, because this we are doing for last 3-4 years, and this has helped us in not only reducing the moisture content, re-handling of lignite through a handling system. So this causes less outage of systems, choking, and this, though it will be there, but it has reduced significantly. So this has helped us. So these are the measures we have taken for reduction in the moisture. In normal power plant, a coal maybe moisture content is very low, so they may not be requiring this, but the plants who are operating with lignite high moisture or imported coal with Indonesian coal with high moisture content, that may be useful. Measures taken to mitigate the challenges for low load operations whenever because I told during earlier we used to run all the equipment. So we have taken during low load operation, we are switching off cooling tower fans through the mobiles, cell phones. Switching 1 SA fans means shut down during backing down or low load operation. Optimization of excess air to reduce the fans loading, to reduce the auxiliary consumption. DP across boiler feed pump at low load operations, so that throttling will not be there, and we control through the, we have taken this coupling, full fluid coupling control. Turbine wide valve operations, this may be known to all the power plant operators and the people who are assembled here. Then the best part, how we are doing this, how we are monitoring and evaluating all this. So we used to have daily plant meeting where we discuss all the generation, the specific lignite consumption, then what is the target of the yearly and what we have achieved, what are the, how we can achieve it on daily basis, and then what are the equipment availability, then what are the issues of the environmental, mainly SOx, NOx and the SPM generation. Then we do evaluation on the draft power, being the auxiliary consumption is the main. Then what is the availability of lignite, lime, HFO stocks. Then we see what are the defects in the SAP. Then defects also we have categorized the safety defects and general defects. Then the high priority defects. Then the suggestions on daily basis during meeting or interaction with all the senior executive, particularly head of departments and our executives. We get a lot of feedback, and based on that we decide for the next day planning and other thing, major actions and equipment, and then accordingly we decide the course of action for next day. Similarly, we conduct the O&M meeting. This is operation and maintenance meeting, where the not only HOD and seniors, other concerned executive also at the engineers level also, who are doing the critical, handling the critical activities or department and equipment called. We compare with the performance with the last year budget, monthly basis, on the date particular, and the cumulative basis. Then we see what are the reasons for the low generations, equipment causing the low generations, what are the action taken, what are the best way to go further, and then what are the planning in the then the other facilitation required by the O&M team, by other services like HR, safety, then security, finance. So it will be a thorough discussion and interaction, and it gives a lot of feedback and input, which will help in improving the overall operations management. Then during IMS review, there has been internal auditors, even though external auditors are there in the department wise, and they do lot of observations. And that observation, how it would be helpful in our improvement in action plan for improvement, that we do. Since we are using lignite, so summers that create lot of issues during the for fire and other things. So with summer preparation we do, and then the other things like there is a performance evaluation for cooling towers and other things during summers, and other measures required for the summer preparation. Then similarly before monsoon we do the monsoon planning, like covering of the lignite, then ability of the sump pump, then the how the cleaning of drainage and this everything, ability of the all the sump pump of the condenser pit and other area, and then what are the choking and removal of choking and poking, then the measures further to reduce the partial load operation during months. So we discuss all these issues during the monsoon meeting. Then the annual review, overall AOH review meeting. This is apart from the O&M meeting. When we go for the planned outage, we do the daily basis, the target, the activities, bottleneck points, how we can improve, how we can reduce this to quality point, safety aspects, and then overall performance of the auditing and checking of the work being done in the AOH through the internal committee or through the third party agency, whatever we have. Then the safety is now the most important part. So we do the safety in the weekly review meeting also, and in deliberately, and for safety in sharp defect also we have highlighted with a star mark, so that there should be special focus and attention, and then we do this. Similarly, energy management meetings and environmental meetings. So these are all part of our monitoring practices. Similarly, we do for efficiency monitoring also, equipment performance, also cooling towers and other plant performance reporting, unit outage, particularly boiler to obligation force, unit tripping analysis, MIS report. So these are the tools and monitoring practices which will helping in operation management and giving the input to the management what action should be taken to further improve or for the better performance or benchmarking the performance. Similarly, resource monitoring, we are using DCS, energy monitoring systems, material handling also we are doing, lignite handling, lime handling. Then we are online instrument hooked for DCS data, so for monitoring and taking the appropriate action.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Singh, we have 2 minutes left.
Okay, no issue. I will finish it. Then main part for improvement operations management is our engineers and staffs. Their knowledge, experience, and analytical ability helps in, and we get the feedback and take corrective action. For efficiency part, we are using Epsilon software, and then we are ISO 50001, and environment energy management cell is acting very actively and helping in reduction in the energy or auxiliary consumption. Environment management cell is helping in complying the new environmental norms. These are the best maintenance practices in the boiler side. Similarly, on the operation side, we also have done the practices for efficiency improvement, modification for process improvement, general practices for efficiency improvement. So we are based on our experience and the knowledge, we have done this, how optimize auxiliary consumption, how reduce the DM water, how reduce the running hours of auxiliary. These are the all measures taken for this. Similarly, major modifications we have done in the process itself, so that we improve the performance. So these are from the OEM side, based on our experience, we have done in the logic and modification. This has helped in improving the plant performance. So idea is whatever best we can do the existing practices, and then whatever we can do the logic and process side, and as well as the maintenance requirement side, the process improvement. Similarly, general practices using LED lights, using file management system, avoiding using only mail communications to the extent possible, using energy efficient measures. This will help in doing the best efficiency practices. This I will just skip. We have the EMCL activity, and we have done a lot of major energy saving project implemented. Details of electrical energy saving I will show in the graphs, so that I think These are the just activity of the EM cells. We use because it is a regular activity, and we do quarterly meeting also, but we discuss in the weekly and daily plan meeting the requirements and the similarly major energy saving projects implemented, and which has this all and which has resulted in energy savings almost around 22 MUs or 21 MUs. So every year you see, because once you achieve the saturation level, it is very difficult to achieve the further improvement. Okay, with this, I conclude. Thanks again. If you have any query or questions, you are free to ask any clarifications or thank you very much for patience listening.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. I would request you to please stop sharing.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for the wonderful start of the sessions of the technical presentations. Before we take the questions, I would request you to please join us till lunch, because once the presenters are over, then only we'll be taking all the questions. Moving on, we have our next presenter from NTPC, Mr. Shashir Dubey and Ms. Shivali Kalsi. I would request both of them to please turn on their video and audio so that we can have you on stage.
Yes, sir.
So, Shashirji, I would request you to please share your screen.
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are absolutely audible. What I would suggest is to please, yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Shivaliji.
Yeah, is it visible, sir?
Absolutely. Please share the full screen. Wonderful. Over to you.
Yeah, the presentation. Okay. First of all, I'd like to good afternoon, everybody, and thank Mission Energy Foundation for throwing such a good conference. Now I will start. Okay. Now, innovation is the cornerstone of profitability for every organization who has experienced longevity in profits. We at NTPC Dadri take pride in saying that we innovate and we practice the best. Today we are here to present to you some of our innovative and best practices. First of all, I will like to talk about our awards and accolades. We have been awarded Best Efficient Power Plant in 2020, Best Innovative Environmental Project in 2020, and we have been conferred with 5S Juice Award by QCFI. And we are the first plant in NTPC to be conferred with this award. Moving on, we are ISO QMS, ISO EMS, ISO OHSMS, and 5S Juice certified workplace. Now, these are some salient features of our plant. We have 4 units of 210 megawatt, 2 units of 490 megawatt. Our major beneficiaries are Delhi and Uttar Pradesh. We source our coal from CCL, ECL, NCL, and Pakhri Barwadi. Our water is sourced from Upper Ganga Canal and from our own reservoir. These are some unique features of our plant. We have a 5 megawatt peak solar PV plant commissioned in our premises. We have a back-to-back HVDC converter station of a capacity of 1500 watts. We have the largest switchyard in India. Our rainwater harvesting potential is 10 lakh meter cube per annum. As a way of transforming weaknesses to strength, we have utilized our ash to form an ash mound. Our ash mound spans in an area of 90 acres, which which is in 30 meters height, and it utilizes around 140 lakh metric tons of ash. We have also developed an eco park on top of it, and a 9 holes golf course is also developed by us. Now, as a way of preserving biodiversity, we have developed a wetland spanning 28 acres that we call Pakshi Vihar, which acts as a sanctuary for migratory birds in the winter season. UNDP has done a census in January 21, and they have found out that there are 45 migratory bird species present there, including 6 endangered species. We also utilize this Pakshi Vihar for our O&M. Are ZLD compilants. It acts as a natural cleaning medium, and it supplies cooling water to our stage 2 units. Now, these are the presentation highlights. In our presentation, first I would like to talk about our innovative practices. Then we will move on to process improvements. After that, new technologies. Then we will talk about resource conservation, and finally, safety and health initiatives. Moving on to the innovative practices that we have. The first one is biomass co-firing, and I'm very happy to mention that we are India.
Kindly share the.
Yeah.
Dubey, kindly share your presentation.
Okay.
Kindly share your presentation.
No. Excuse me, sir.
Shishir, we cannot see your presentation.
Okay. I will share it again. I think something went wrong there. Okay.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah. Is it visible now?
We can see a screen you have. Yeah. Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. So I was talking about biomass co-firing. And I'm very happy to say that we are the first plant in India to successfully carried out biomass co-firing. We have fired around 15,000 million metric tons of biomass till date, and we have saved around 21,500 tons of CO2 from it. When we fire biomass, what we do is we collect stubble from the farms, and we form it into pellets and blend it with our coal in the ratio of 5 to 10% to fire it in our boilers. Now, to fire biomass, we have made some changes in our conveying system as well as in our milling system. So here are the changes in our conveying system. We have installed a truck tripler, as you can see here in this picture, for a quick unloading of biomass trucks. After that, we use these reclaim hoppers that you can see on the right to push the biomass into the system, and at transfer point 3, that is in our CHP conveying system, we blend the coal with the biomass and finally transport it to coal bunkers. Now, talking about the milling system and mill inerting system changes, we have changed our milling system because the biomass flash point is around 200 to 220 degrees Celsius, and we have to keep the mill system temperature below 200 or below 190 degrees Celsius at all times. So we have changed the temperature control to inlet temperature from outlet temperature. And to improve the reliability of the system, we have installed an additional inlet temperature thermocouple in our system. We maintain the mill outlet temperature of 60 to 65 degrees Celsius when we fire biomass in our mills. Our PA's header pressure is maintained at a slightly higher than normal value of 800 mm water column when we fire biomass. And finally, we have changed the fire protection, that is the hot air gate closing at inlet temperature high instead of outlet temperature high. So now talking about the mill inerting system changes. In mill inerting system, we have installed a motorized inerting valve in each mill so that operator can operate the valve when in case of emergency from a control room itself. We have installed individual PF pipe temperature sensors so that fire can be detected beforehand. We have also installed an orifice in each of the mill inerting line to reduce the steam pressure so that proper blanketing of fire can be done. We have also observed that there is negligible impact in boiler efficiency from biomass co-firing. Next, I would like to talk about municipal solid waste torrefied charcoal pilot plant. We have installed this plant at our plant premises, and this plant converts the solid waste to torrefied charcoal. It has a capacity of 3 tons per day of consumption of solid waste, and we have collected around 1500 kgs of plastic from nearby villages, and we have utilized it as torrefied charcoal. Total torrefied production till date is 20 metric tons. Now, next I would like to talk about this in-house BTAP ash unloading system. So what we have in NTPC is, we are very proud to say that at NTPC Dadri, since 2014-15, we have 100% ash utilization. While at other remote plants, we have a major challenge of utilizing our ash because it is a big environmental problem. So what we have done is we have acquired these wagons, and we transport our excess ash from the remote thermal power plants to NTPC Dadri, and then we utilize it here. So we have made some in-house changes for this, and till today we have transported 2 BTAP rakes and received 6,000 tons of ash. So we have erected some lines like new TAC airline for transporting ash, fly ash transporting line at the wagon arrangement, and we have made an arrangement of simultaneously evacuating 2 wagons. With the help of all this, we have been able to reduce the wagon unloading time, the rake unloading time rather, by a considerable amount, from 95 hours to 66 hours. Next is robotic cleaning system in solar PV. As I mentioned earlier, we have a 5 megawatt solar PV plant in our premises. So earlier we used to manually clean the plates. Now we have installed this robotic cleaning system, and it saves us a lot of water, around 2,800 kiloliters of water per annum, and it saves us on manpower too. Here's a video of it in action. Yeah, and it goes to the next plate and repeats the same thing. Now talking about O&M process improvements. First, I would like to talk about APC reduction in running units. So, what we have done is we have majorly rationalized our running equipment to save APC. Like in stage 1, what we have done is when our load goes below 126 megawatt, that is below 55% in a 210 megawatt unit, for 6-7 hours, that is generally at night, what we do is we stop one of the BFPs and we run the unit only on one BFP. For this, we have modified our BFP standby logic, and we have saved around 5.06 million units of electricity there. We are also practicing 3 mills operation in stage 1 and 4 mills operation in stage 2 on part load. This saves us around 1.8 million units. Finally, we have installed VFD in ID fan of one of the stage 1 units, that is unit 2, which was left. All of the other units in NTPC Dadri have VFD in ID fans. This saves us around 1.07 million units, and we have been practicing single CP operation in stage 2 when the load goes below 300 megawatt. Now talking about APC reduction during reserve shutdown. So the first practice is TDBFP at barring speed used for drum filling. Earlier, when we used to fill our drum at the time of light up, we used to run our MDBFP for around 3 to 4 hours. Now what we are doing instead is we are using the TDBFP barring power. That is, without starting the MDBFP, we are using only the barring power of TDBFP to push the water into the drum, and this saves us a lot of water, lot of power, lot of running hours on MDBFP. Now recently our DSI system was in commissioning in stage 1, and stage 1, all of the 4 units were also shut down at the same time. So what we used to do we used to run one CW pump and one ECW pump 8 hours daily to meet the DSI commissioning cooling water requirement. But what we have recently come up with is to run APH wash pumps instead of these TW and ECW pumps, and this has saved us some power. Also, at the time of shutdown, our reheaters are in dry preservation. So we kind of, what we do is we push
Shishir, we
the
cannot, sorry to interrupt, but we cannot see your presentation.
Oh, again. I don't know what goes wrong again and again. Sorry for the interruption. Yes. Is it visible?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes. So I was talking about compressed air line modification for reheater preservation. So what we have done here is we have changed our system to preserve reheater, and we have installed a dedicated line for reheater preservation. Earlier we used to charge the air for whole unit, and for that we have to we had to run more number of compressors. So we have reduced the running number of compressors by 2, and that has saved us some power. Finally, in the firewater tank makeup for stage 2. In our stage 2 units, what we have is we have the firewater tank makeup from CW blowdown line. So generally, when the CW pumps are running, there is no problem of firewater tank makeup. But when the CW pumps are stopped in case of shutdown, what we were experiencing was we had to run CW pumps to our firewater tanks, and that was a costly thing. So what we have done instead is we have utilized our SCCW return water by changing our practice to fill our firewater tank, and finally we have saved some APC there. Now, talking about the best practices in operation, we have rationalized our equipment running in stage 2 by using 3 CW pumps instead of 4 CW pumps for 2 units. We have we also have a practice of stopping 1 TG ECW pump and both ACW pumps for stage 2 units during winters when the temperatures allow us. Also, our stage 1 ESP de-ashing system is stopped 4 hours daily to facilitate some APC saving, because units are running on part load and not enough ash is getting generated for us to run the ESP de-ashing system constantly. And the last point that I'd like to talk about is for efficiency improvement, we have done condenser mechanized robot cleaning and SCAF charging during winters. Now, this is our flexibilization strategy for faster ramp up and ramp down. In our stage 2 units, we have installed P3K Siemens system, and we have upgraded it for flexibilization. This assists us in RGMO correction, condensate throttling, drum level control, and spray and temperature control. We also have some upcoming systems to aid us in faster ramp up and ramp downs. Like we have a mill scheduler, we have auto operation of all fans, we have boiler fatigue monitoring system, and equivalent hours of operation for turbine. Now Shivali will take over the presentation. Thank you. अपनी स्क्रीन शेयर कर लें.
Sorry, मेरा PPT क्यों नहीं स्क्रीन शेयर हो रहा है?
Shailen, I would request you to please turn on your video and share the presentation. Perfect. Please go ahead.
Sir, am I audible?
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
Hello. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are absolutely audible. Please go ahead.
Is my PPT visible, sir?
Yes, absolutely. Please put it on full screen.
Okay, sir. Good
It's good
afternoon,
to go.
everyone.
Shivali, just a quick request. We have 10 minutes left for the
Okay.
session. Please go ahead.
Okay, sir. So Dadri, in its journey towards excellence, has installed many new technologies. First of all, I will discuss AUSE. AUSE is a pilot project of Dadri station with BHEL and ICCAR to develop world's most efficient thermal power plant. The objective is to study the indigenously developed material for this plant. This material basically is a nickel alloy 740H and stainless steel 304 HCU. And the objective is for it to sustain pressure of 310 KSC and main steam temperature of 710 degrees Celsius and reheater temperature of 720 degrees Celsius. We have installed a test loop of this in its phase 1. NTPC has installed its test loop in unit 3 of NTPC Dadri, and it has to be tested for 2 years, and we have achieved the running hours of AUSE of 9,441 hours. After its test results are proven, NTPC will go in its phase 2 and we will set up a AUSC plant in NTPC Sipat. This plant will have the highest efficiency among all coal stations. It will have 46% of efficiency as compared to 38% in subcritical and supercritical plants. Also, it will give us a 35 kilocalorie heat rate improvement, and it will reduce our carbon emissions by 17%. Second technology which we are talking about is integrated solar thermal hybrid system. This is its first of kind in whole of Asia. Our partners are Thermax Limited and Novotek Solar Espana. Here we have installed a 15 megawatt thermal hybrid system, which will give us a 3.66 megawatt electrical energy. It is installed in unit 4. The feed water for HPH heater 6 is heated by the solar thermal, and this improves upon our turbine output, and it gives us an improvement of efficiency about 24 to 25% against the standalone PV plants of 16 to 17%. Also, it reduces our CO2 emissions by 4,000 tons per year. Coming to SOx reduction technologies, in stage 1, we have installed dry sorbent injection system, and it has been commissioned in all the 4 units. In dry sorbent injection, we use sodium bicarbonate as a reagent. It reacts with acid gases in flue stream and forms the products which can unharmful sulfate products which can be removed by in fly ash. The specific consumption of sodium bicarbonate is 12 grams per kilowatt hour, and the efficiency of this SOx removal system is around 62%. And these are the values in the table. We have shown the values of the test run for all the units, and we have been able to achieve SOx values less than 600 milligram per Newton meter cube, per normal meter cube. And in stage 2, for sulfur SOx reduction, we have installed flue gas desulfurization system. This system is still under commissioning, and the commissioning will be completed for unit 5 in September 21 and for unit 6 in December 21. This system has some few of advantages, like it has SOx removal efficiency of up to 95%, and we get a valuable byproduct, that is gypsum, that can be sold, and we get energy savings for part load operation. For NOx values reduction, in stage 2 of Dadri, we have installed separated overfired air dampers. Actually, the main purpose is to reduce the NOx levels. So what we are doing is that we are giving substoichiometric air in firing region, and the major portion, 20 to 25% of air is being given through these separated overfired air dampers, resulting in decrease of NOx values. So we have installed one SOFA air duct with tilting system, horizontal yaw movement. We have installed bottom mesh camera and CO analyzers to watch for flame instability. And we have been able to achieve NOx levels less than 450 milligram per normal meter cube. Earlier, it was 650 to 700 milligram per normal meter cube. We have also installed this scale band in our stage 2 units. This is basically a mechanical device to reduce formation of scales in condenser. What it does is it uses galvanic principle. It decreases H positive ion concentration in the water, making its pH increase. This results in precipitation of calcium and magnesium salts before going to condenser, and this gives us a COC improvement of 6 to 8. Earlier, we used to run our units on 3 to 4 COC. Now we have reached a COC of 6 to 7. This reduces condenser scaling and reduces water pollution.
Sorry to interrupt you.
NTPC Dadri is having its thrust for resource conservation. And for resource conservation, we have taken many steps like water conservation, ash utilization, and energy conservation. For water conservation, we have zero liquid discharge system working since 2018. The basic principle is reduce, reuse, and recycle. For reducing our water consumption, we have divided our plant into 4 zones. A water management committee has been formed. For reusing, all the effluent drains are being collected in ZLD pit, and this water is being treated at ETP plant. And we are using ETP water as service water and STP water for horticulture purposes.
Shivali ji, we have 3 minutes left for the session.
Yes, sir.
We have 3 minutes left for the session.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I'm trying to. So this has resulted in our specific water consumption reduction from 3.4 to 2.63 liters per kilowatt hour. These are the few pictures of our ZLD drains. Then we have applied rainwater harvesting, but as our plant is situated near Upper Ganga Canal and our water table is already high, 3 to 5 meters below ground level, we have adopted an alternative method. Here we put all the drains water during rainy season to dead pond, and this water is used during rainy season. We stop water intake from canal. And we have a potential rainwater harvesting potential of our 10.3 lakhs cubic meter, and we have utilized this year 97% of our potential. And last, we have an increase of water harvesting from 6.5 to 10 lakhs per cubic meter. As we have already told, we take pride in saying that we are 100% ash utilization station since 2014-15. The ash is also being, we have a tie-up with nearby cement and asbestos industries for fly ash utilization of 13.52 lakhs metric ton per year. Ash is also being used for brick manufacturing, landfill, and road embankment. 74% of ash we are selling, other we are using for brick manufacturing, landfills, and road embankments. Then our aim is to reduce energy conservation or to reduce our carbon footprint. We have installed solar rooftop PV installations at 8 of our common building locations in township. The total capacity is 310 kilowatt peak, and for 2020 we have generated 306.4 megawatt peak of energy. Then no O&M can be best O&M till we have safety as our priority, and at NTPC Dadri, safety is our priority. Many unique safety initiatives we have taken. First is key opinion maker. Here, an influential and safety conscious person among the working group is selected as a key opinion maker. He is given the responsibility to ensure safety amongst his co-workers, and the mechanism used is peer pressure. Then we have UA swearing in ceremony. Here, if any safety lapse occurs, all the team gathers, including supervisor, managers, and the worker, and they discuss the safety lapse and take a pledge to understand, abide, and avoid this safety lapse in future. We have done safety zone reorientation from 14 to 40 for easy and faster defect mitigations. Then we have a practice of sharing pan NTPC incidents in our daily DPM so that we can be proactively prepared for these kind of activities. Then we have for safety initiatives JSA, that is a written procedure for safety practices to be executed during a job. Then we have daily pep talks by EIC for workers and toolbox talks before on site before execution of any work. Then these are some of the health initiatives taken by NTPC Dadri. We have dedicated COVID ward with
we are out
40
of
bed
time.
facility.
I request you to please conclude.
Corona
We are
are
out of time.
installed in control rooms, touchless sanitizers, 18,000 liters of sanitizer by chemistry, and face masks and face shields are distributed. So, coming to the conclusion, reaping the benefits. We are reaping so many benefits from our innovative and best O&M practices. We had an APC saving of 12.86 million units in last year, CO2 savings of 21,500 metric tons from burning biomass. We have zero liquid discharge stations since 1718, over 1.1 lakh trees planted in last 3 years, 100% ash utilization, and 6,000 metric tons of ash transported and utilized. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivali. Thank you for sharing the technologies that NTPC is using. And thank you, Shishir, for sharing the perspective on the operations and maintenance. It was a wonderful presentation. I would request you to please stop sharing the screen so that we can move forward. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. I would request you to please stay tuned with us till the time we receive questions. We already have questions, but we always wait for the final presenter to deliver. I would request Mr. Venugopal Rao to please turn on his video and share his screen for the presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Rao, are you there? Okay,
Yeah,
can
yeah.
you please turn on your video?
Am I audible?
You are absolutely audible, and we can see your screen as well. Only thing, Mr. Rao, that we are running out of time. I would request you to please keep it very crisp to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Sure,
Mr.
sure.
Rao. Over to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, all the participants. Myself is M.V. Venugopal Rao, and along with me is Mr. Veera Brahmam.
Good afternoon to all.
Yeah, he's looking after the efficiency and I'm looking after the maintenance part. So let us start with the slide presentation, a quick view of the Singareni Thermal Power Plant. First of all, let me we feel privileged to be part of the eminent speakers. Thank you, Mission Energy, for floating this wonderful program to share the technical views of all the participants here. Even if we utilize a few of them, certainly we are going to gain. And thank you very much. So let us go on a couple of slides on the Singareni, what is SCCL and what is STPP. SCCL stands for Singareni Collieries Company Limited. Generally, all over this one, whenever I tell Singareni, people tell that it is Singaroli. Just I want to stress that it is Singareni. It is Singareni. It is main into coal mining in the South India part, and it has around 18 open cast and 27 underground mines in 4 districts of newly formed Telangana state. And in the recent past, Singareni Collieries Company Limited has spread into the field of thermal power plant power generation by setting up 2 into 600 megawatts thermal power plant, and also into the solar power plant with 219 megawatts solar, which is already commissioned in 2021. Other thing is we are also setting up the floating solar of around 300 megawatts in the nearby reservoir, and for which already tenders have been floated. STPP has also received the MOF clearance for 800 megawatts, and the government clearance is due. Coming to Singareni Thermal Power Plant, Singareni Thermal Power Plant is the recent is a subsidiary of 100% subsidiary of Singareni Coal Collieries Company Limited. It has been named only for running the thermal power plant, and it is a separate company under that. Coming to the geographical location of our plant, it is in the Telangana state, district of Mancherial with the seen latitude, longitude, this one location marks. STVP is 2 into 600 megawatts coal-based thermal power plants. This thermal power plant is a conventional thermal power plant only with pulverized corner-fired boilers, and it is main BTG is supplied by Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited, and the COD commercial operation date of Unit 1 is 25th September 2016, and Unit 2 is 2nd December 2016. During the last 5 years, we feel privileged that we were in the positions on PLF ranking declared by the CEA. In 2016-17, we were 17, 17-18, 5th, 18-19, 16th, and 19-27th. So, just a quick slides on the strategies of the superior performance. What are the strategies? From where the actually strategies emerge? The strategies generally emerge when the professionals strive for a superior results. So continual improvement of the existing system is where every professional strive for. So that is one of the things, and looking for an alternatives. Say if this is running in one way, why not we should improve upon? Why not we explore the alternates? Is the other way of this one, benchmarking with the other successful efforts. There are many players in the thermal power plants, and many players are doing good. We should also take many examples from them to implement in the existing this one, and the best methods that is suit to a particular situation. This is very unique, and many of the problems are unique to individual stations. So they should strive also to make the best methods, to adopt to the best methods to suit their particular situation. And as such, we all are going through the challenging phase as a fraternity thermal power plant. O&M is going through a challenging phase for taking the stringent environments, high cost of fuel, higher electricity prices, increased renewable energy sources, leading to back down, where many of our speakers are outspoken on these topics. And if you see the PLF, the present running PLF is hardly 54 to 55% in the installed thermal capacity of 233 gigawatts. Still, we are on a very lower side. We can utilize our resources still in a better way. And the strategic approach towards O&M is also the need of hour, because it will result in the improved station heat rates, reduced APCs, reduction manpower cost, and spares inventory. So combined of all these things has reason to make a strategic move towards the profitability of the and the sustainability of the power plant. Next. Okay, if you divide the strategies of the life cycle of a power plant, it can be divided into 3 stages. What strategies you are adopting in the project stage, means what technology you are adopting is one thing, and what are the O&M services, how you are going to operate and maintain once it has come to operation phase, and certainly the strategies during the O&M phase. What are the best practices that we have to adopt? Are the 3. If we consider, as all know, just we will go glance through. If in today's date, if we go to the supercritical technology, certainly we are going to gain much on the heat rate and finally onto the cost effectiveness. Though initial cost it may be increased, however the running cost will be coming down. If you see the efficiency of this one, supercritical, this one, certainly from subcritical 34 to 38%, it has gone to 37 to 41%. So, and the greenhouse emission gases also will be coming down. And other thing is the if we have not gone to already 6 subcritical has been installed, then other two strategies are left out. What is the strategy? Services to the running. And the basic model as of now, traditional model which are being adopted in the power plant is the 100% in-house O&M works and maintenance outsourcing. And the new nowadays, which is gaining momentum, is the new model being adopted, is the 100% works outsourcing, where spares, scheduling, daily scheduling, and plans insurance is in the owner's scope. And just we want to tell that many of the players are already there who are already adopting the best practices in their own way, by comparison and all these things. Just let us go through that. These are the already superior performance being adopted. Let us go to the operational department, focusing on the heat rate, auxiliary power consumption, and empowering of operation staff, high standards on safety of man and machines through better implementation of PTW systems, conducting of technical audit, preferably in the third party audit, where more focus. Next thing is the maintenance. Maintenance, if we go through the maintenance department practices adopted, reliability centered maintenance has gained the momentum, has been being implemented for the maintenance aspects, where if you see the plant, to increase the plant availability of the system. Next. Maintenance department, already superior performance which are being adopted are checking of all tools and tackles, extensive use of NDT methods. Condition monitoring will give you an insight into the actions necessary to keep the plant equipment up and running. This is very much important, like in boiler thickness measurements and RTs are there, DP and UTs are there, MP and NFTs for the last stage freestanding blades of LP turbines for KW machines are there. Thermography, infrared thermographies for EHV equipments are there. DO, dissolved gas analysis in power transformers are there. Exceptional testing methods like MAGIC miniature air gap inspection crawlers for generators, life expectancy analysis package for motors, might be POUT, it is called phased array ultrasonic testings for the turbine. Improvement and other things are the improvement in quality control methods for the spares being procured. So at the initial stage is itself, if we take the quality control measures, whatever the products which are buying will give a good and designed life of the equipment during operation phase. And the other things during the low loads, or during the back downs, or during the reserve shutdowns, preservations of critical equipments, of the running equipments, as well as the new equipments which have come to the shop floor, also should be taken much importance. This has also already been in practice. And other thing is the where cost cutting and anything is there, it is on the environment inventory management. Let us go through the two of the we want to focus on the two case studies which are adopted in the Singareni thermal power plant 2 into 600 megawatts. Almost 600 megawatts are around 20 numbers supplied by BHEL, if you only consider the BHEL part. So in the BHEL, one of the more maintenance prone area or the failure. Pardon? Can I go? Yeah. So one of the major weakness of the maintenance point of view is the last stage blade of the LP turbine. The last stage LP turbine is of the model of N30 4 into 6.3 with 2 into 8 double flow. This one, wherein we have two LP turbines in the 600 megawatts turbine of KW design supplied by BHEL. So in this, when we have taken and commissioned, and BHEL has given a circular number X123C as per the circular. Next. See, as per the, just a minute. As per the circular, if we see, BHEL recommends that MPA NFT has to be done every 10,000 to 12,000 equivalent hours. And suppose if no crack is detected, it is recommended that MPA NFT has to be done after 8,000 to 10,000 hours. So if it is 8,000 to 10,000 hours, if it is just a little above every year of inspection, MPA NFT, to do the MPA NFT test, the turbine has to be completely dismantled, especially LP turbine. Both rotors have to be dismantled, taken out, remove the blades, do the MPA and NFT. It is a big, it is a maintenance process which involves around minimum 30 to 35 days of maintenance. Actually, BHEL has, with a new design, though it is an advanced stage, it is with a profile, it is bent and it is a profiled blade with a length of around, freestanding blade is of a length of around 824 mm above the root. If we take the complete root into consideration, the last stage blade is around 920 mm and last before stage is around 604 mm including the root. If you say the only freestanding, it is around 528 mm. If that is the case, and with the BHEL giving the circular, it is not possible for any of the power plants to do the annual overall maintenance, planned maintenance on year-to-year basis. With so much of investment, and if we consider the every year basis, both units, suppose if you take, it is we are in a loss of 8.22% of plant availability, station availability. If we go with the BHEL
Sorry
circular,
to interrupt, Mr. Rao. We have 3 minutes left.
okay, we will let me complete, because it is, yeah, I will be completing it. So the so it will be leading to the generation loss of 773 million units, if you see, with that 85% PLF and a huge revenue loss. Then we have consulted BHEL what best can be done. So after a lot of this one, BHEL has come up with three NDT methods. One is casing vibration, this one, and other is the blade vibration monitoring system, and another is the POUT, what we call is they coming to blade vibration system. We have got this test done 2 times in May 2018 and March 2021. We have no other methodology to measure what is happening inside the turbine when it is freestanding. Many of the cases we have seen that the last stage blade has developed a cracks, and it has given and the unit, because of that there was a lot of outages in this one. Then what we got done is we have done the casing vibration monitoring system done, where it will measure the blade pass frequency of the last two stage blades, 7th and 8th stage blades. So we have measured that. Next, I can show. See this blade pass frequency when it is running normal, it is say last stage blade has 48 number of stages. So 48 into 50, it is 2,400. And if the frequency comes 24,000, 2,400 hertz, it is okay. And the last stage blades are 62 into 50, 3,100 hertz. So if this is if the frequency is recorded like that, then your blades are okay. But if it is going outside this band, say suppose 62 are there and 52 hertz is there, so that means there is something problem in the blades. So accordingly, see, this is the arrangements where I can show you. These are the mountings of the accelerometers in these two stage blades. This is the main advantage is the casing vibration. It is offline methodology of finding out this one. Till now we were not having any method to know the inner blades condition inside when it is running. So this is an offline, you can do it while running also. So casing, so in that, just I will make you see. This is 2018 this one, where we have seen an outside band. This one where the waterfall diagram is showing there is some problem. So it is in the May 2018 BHEL has done that, and when we and this is the one which is recently. So during just a minute. After this data collection, we have taken an overall in couple of turbine blades. We have seen a minor crack in the FIR. This one of the root of the blades. So after 2 months after that, this one we have taken a shutdown. Though it is an annual shutdown, when we have dismantled to know whether it is there or not as per the mandatory check, and we have done the MPA NFT. So we have got 2 blades of LP casing. These are the 2 these blades. Sorry.
Mr. Rao, requesting you to please conclude.
Yeah. This is 3-4 minutes. Yeah, this is the report of the BHL where this is. And another thing is the blade vibration monitor. It is an online vibration monitoring system. We have placed around 8 accelerometer meters in the last stage blade. It is only last stage blade monitoring system, NDT method. During the overall, we have to carry out, and it gives the online measurements of the blade condition of the last stage. Okay, this is next case study. Let me take through is this is the O&M. O&M agency. Coming to the O&M services, Singareni has adopted the O&M agency within other outsource the complete O&M agencies. What we have done is main thing is we have spares, scheduling and insurance is in our part. Main thing for the success is O&M agency should be made as an associate, not as just as a contractor. So we have made it a highlight. We want to, it is a performance target based O&M contract, not as the manpower source contract. Everything payment is on the though it is on a monthly basis, payment is done, but we monitor the performance on month to month basis. So one of the main target is performance based. Next thing is though minimum manpower they have to deploy, we have ensured that the minimum daily manpower has to be deployed. And suppose if there is strikes or anything, we made them responsible for that. And suppose if there is a for taking care of the statutory anything. So by this, we want to show you that if you see the last slides, apart from their RA bills and all these things, we have paid them the incentive around 5 crores per year as an incentive to them on year-to-year basis. Almost we have paid around 25 to 26 lakhs crores on year-to-year basis. So this has also worked well for Singareni thermal power plant. These 2 cases I want to cover. Main thing is that vibration for this one, we don't have any monitoring system when turbine is running. We had to have, so we have got a confidence that we have a monitoring system in place now. Other best practices are the generator end winding vibrations. We have utilized 100% fly ash. And the 100% legacy ash also we have used whatever has been there. Now totally it is empty. CFD CFD analysis, 0 liquid discharge, and the lost time due to injury for the last 5 years has been 0. Coming to the way forward is already we are in the advanced stage of awarding FGD. We are going with the fully digitalization of the O&M practices, O&M this one. And our other is 800 megawatts and other non-conventional sources, mainly solar. And full-fledged training center we are going to establish for imparting knowledge for the in-house staff. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, and these are our contact numbers. We can be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. I would request you to please stop sharing the screen so that we can move forward. Thank you for the wonderful presentation, Mr. Rao. Very informative, and it was wonderful the way you shared the case studies. Moving on, since we are running literally out of time, and we have extended our lunch break with used our lunch breaks 10 minutes. So what I would request you is to all the delegates and to the speakers who have joined us is to be with us post lunch, because we are taking a networking break for the attendees also, so that they can have their lunch and come back and join us for the next presentations. And then, since we have received a lot of questions for all the 3 speakers, we'll be taking that after that. And we request Mr. Ajay Sharma from NTPC also to please be with us post lunch, because we are literally running out of time. So by then we'll be back again at 2, and we will be having more presentations and Q&A session for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back again at 2.